Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning as we are studying together Perashat Toledot. Of course, the Perashat is very famous for the episode of Yitzchak wanting to bless his son Esav, and he calls him over, and of course the switcheroonie happens, where instead of Yitzchak giving Esav the blessings, Yaakov, his brother, comes in and he makes believe that he's Esav, and he takes the blessings. Of course, this was not done on Yaakov's own. He didn't do it through himself, but his mother instead, it was at her behest. She encouraged him to do this. She maybe even demanded that he do this. And whatever ends up happening is the rest of the Perashah. And of course, we read this every year, and we have a lot of questions. We need to understand what exactly is going on. I mean, first and foremost, let's just start with the beginning of the story. Yitzchak wants to bless Esav. So the obvious question is why? We sometimes think that Yitzchak was this old blind man, Bar Minan, when maybe he lost it, he didn't know the truth. And Chaz v'Shalom, it's hard to talk like that about the Avot. So Yitzchak was aware, he understood what was going on. So what was he thinking? Why did he want to bless Esav? Esav's the wrong kid. Esav's not the one. And then later on in the story, when Rivkah comes to counter and sends Yaakov instead, what was she thinking? So to understand this, today we're going to study through the lens of the Malbim. The Malbim says that really this whole story, if you understand one idea, one thing, it'll make a lot of sense. The Malbim says the purpose of creation was for the tzaddik. Yes, everything is for the righteous person who's going to live a life of godliness, of spirituality, connect to Hashem, bring holiness into the world. That is the purpose of all of creation. Like it says, Sov davar hakol nishma et Elohim yirav ve'et mizotav shemor ki ze kol ha'adam. This is the entire person. All of mankind was for this man who's going to fear God, who's going to live the right way. If I could give you a very simple parable, you ready? Just imagine a tree. A tree has a lot going on. There's the roots, there's the trunk, there's the branches, there's the leaves. When you look at a huge tree, you see, wow, there's a lot of materials over here, a lot of goods. However, at the end of the day, all the trunks and the roots and the branches and the leaves, they're all there for one purpose. What is the purpose of a tree? It's to give fruit. The fruit is very small. Fruit's minority. The apple. The apple is maybe, if you collect all the apples, there's 10, 20 of them, whatever. There's a lot more garbage, so to speak. There's a lot more tree than fruit. But it doesn't matter because we know the reality that the minority is not necessarily disregarded. In this case, the purpose is the minority. So says the Malbim, very similar. Hashem wanted to have a world where there would be one nation. That would be the fruit. That would be the purpose. The purpose of a tree is the fruit. Purpose of creation is that nation that's going to live according to the Torah, according to the values, clinging to Hashem, clinging to righteousness. We understand this. But what's the problem? What's the problem is you can't have an entire world where everyone is the fruit. Because who's going to protect the fruit? Who's going to give shade to the fruit? Right? The same way you need a leaf to protect it from the sun. If a person's going to only live, the whole world's going to live the way the Torah demands, well, who's going to provide for that person? Think about, like the Gemara says it perfectly. If everyone's going to have to start making their own bread, planting, doing, harvesting, you won't have time to live the way we were meant to live, following the Torah. Torah mateheh aleha. it's just going to be too difficult. You think about a kid in med school. If the kid in med school also had to make money to get his own rent, to pay for his own expenses, the kid in med school wouldn't be able to study and become a medical doctor. He needs a loan. He needs to be able to not worry about finances. And so now I could focus on becoming a good doctor. So too, whoever this nation would be, would require to have someone out there providing for the nation, giving them a loan, so to speak, giving them money, giving them protection, providing them physically. Within the Jewish people, we know what ended up happening is Hashem chose the tribe of Levi. Hashem chose Levi to be this nation that would receive the ability to live a mission of divinity, of spirituality, connecting to Hashem. And the rest of the Jewish people would provide for that Shevet, for that tribe, for Levi. And that's why the Torah commands us to give Levi Ma'aser, to give them the different gifts. As if to say, Levi, you worry about serving God. You're going to live in the temple. You're going to do the right thing. And you're going to serve Hashem. We'll go out there in the world. We're going to fight wars. We're going to work the land. You don't need to fight. You don't need to work land. We'll protect you. We'll give you food. We'll give you our ma'aser. We'll give you our tithes. You don't worry about anything. And this was what we call a partnership. A partnership. Very similar to a partnership of Yisachar Zevulun. Yisachar would be the one studying the Torah. Zevulun would be the one providing for him. Rambam writes, at the end of chapter 13 of Shemitah Ve'Yovel, very famous Rambam, Ve'lama lo zacha Levi b'nahalat Eretz Yisrael bizata. Why didn't Levi receive a portion in the land of Israel and the spoils of war? Because he was set aside to serve God. Leshareto, minister unto him. Lehorot erachav, to teach his ways. Haisharim, straight. Mishpatav, commandments. Paths of righteous judgment. Larabim, Levi is the teacher. Levi is the rabbi. Levi is the one that's meant to connect heaven and earth. There's God, and there's the rest of us, and Levi's the link. Levi's going to be the liaison, bringing the message. And that's your mission. We can't have you distracted doing other things. So you're not going to fight, you're not going to inherit. Lefichach, therefore, says the Rambam, Huvdalu midarkei ha'olam. Therefore, Rambam, says the Rambam, they are separate from the ways of the world. Lo orchin milchama, they don't go out to battle, kishar Yisrael, like the other Israel. Velo nohalin, they don't inherit either. Velo zochin la'atzman bekoach gufan, wow. They don't even have the ability to acquire through physical power. They really don't exist in a physical terrain. Elaim Hel Hashem, they are God's legion. Like it says, Barech Adonai Helo. Vehu Baruch Hu zocheh lahem. And God provides for them. So says the Rambam, Levi is special. Levi has a mission. His mission is spirituality. And therefore he doesn't need to engage in physicality and materialism. This was the system that Hashem originally intended. That Levi would be the one, like a Yisachar and a Zevulun partnership. And this way, everyone wins. Levi gets protection and he gets what he needs in this world. And the rest of the nation, because they allowed Levi to do his job, so they also take a partnership and they receive benefit in the next world. And so everyone wins. Levi lives a spiritual life. The rest of the people live a physical life. We provide for you physically, and you provide for us spiritually. And this is a perfect partnership. Everyone's happy. And the same way, you need to take care of the fruit. You got to take care of the tree. Without a tree, there's no fruit. Pirkei Avot, im en Torah, en kemach. Im en kemach, en Torah. You need Torah, you need kemach. You need physical, you need spiritual, you need both, and it's a yin-yang, perfect system. This was Yisachar, Zevulun, and this was the Jewish people. The Jewish people would be the same way Levi was in between us and God. So we would be in between God and the rest of the world. We would carry that mission out. He says, it's not so different. Look what he says. From the different, the pyramid that we have in this world, of the different stages. We know that there is physical matter, there's inert matter, like a rock, minerals. There's vegetation, what we call tzomeyah. There's hay, there's animal. There's medaber, there's man. This is the 4 stages within the world. But he says that in between mineral and plant, there's something in between. It's called coral. Coral, it looks like a plant. It grows upward, it branches out, but it doesn't have sap, it doesn't have greenness, it doesn't have typical plant life functions. It grows from mineral deposits, it hardens like a stone, it stops growing. So coral is not fully a plant, but it's not fully a stone. It has properties of both. So spiritually, says the Malbim, Hashem created a world of steps, not categories. And so too, you have an in-between. Levi was going to be an in-between. In between us and God. Very nice example. Very nice example. Well, says the Malbim, Hashem told Avraham that there would be from him a nation that would emerge to live by this prototype. A nation would emerge from Avraham Avinu that would live with this mission, that would carry the torch of spirituality. That would be the chosen nation. That would be like Levi. Someone would emerge from Avraham Avinu. Now Yitzchak has no right, he doesn't have the power to give that to a specific child of his. Nor did he intend to. Yitzchak does not plan on picking one of his sons over the other. That's not for me to pick anyways. Who is going to be the fruit and who's going to be the rest of the tree? That's for God to decide. It will come from whoever is deserving, merit-based. So what exactly does Yitzchak intend to do? So then why is he calling his son over? Says the Malbim, he's not calling him to bless him that he should be the chosen. Open the Pesukim and you will find. Open the Pesukim and you will see something interesting. The blessings that Yitzchak ends up giving to who he thinks is Esav in real time. It's really Yaakov. But he thinks it's Esav. And what are the blessings that he says? It's Shishi. It's the most beautiful aliyah of the whole Perashah and maybe the whole Torah. Who knows? People pay a lot of money for this aliyah tomorrow. Ve'yiten lecha Elohim mital hashamayim umishmaneh haaretz verov dagan vetirosh. So what does that translate into? May God give you of the dew of heavens, the fatness of the earth, abundant grain and wine. Ya'avducha amim. People will serve you. Yishtahavu lecha le'umim. Heve gevid le'achecha. Ve'yishtahavu lecha b'ne'emecha. Orerecha arurum varechecha baruch. These blessings are really, if you pay attention, they're just materialistic. They're physical. It's power to overcome your enemies in battle. It's money, dew, fats of the earth. Yitzchak is not here trying to pick who will carry the spiritual mission, because there's no spiritual blessings. He doesn't mention anything about the land of Israel. He doesn't mention anything about Hashem. Nothing spiritual in this blessing. He's not picking the future. He's not choosing one of his sons to carry and continue in the mission, in the blessing that God gave Avraham. God gave Avraham, from you will come the future, from you will come the fruit, from you will come the chosen nation. Yitzchak is not choosing who's going to be. Yitzchak's not giving that beracha of chosen nation. Okay, so then what is he doing? So why bless anyone at all? If it's going to be merit-based, so why is he blessing? So says the Malbim something beautiful. Take a look right before he calls his son Esav to bless him. And often we sometimes forget to read the context. Context is very important. Vahi Esav ben 40 shana. Esav was 40. Same age as his father when he got married. He takes these two girls. They were a source of rebellion for Yitzchak and Rivkah. They cause a lot of heartache. And as Yitzchak got older and his eyes got weaker, and our rabbis even go so far to say that why did he get blind? Because the wives of Esav, they would make all these fragrances, all these smokes, worshipping for idols. So he got blind. And this is the introduction. This is the preface to the story of why he's about to bless Esav. So it's very important that we read it in context. He's not just blessing him arbitrarily. It's on purpose. There's an introduction here. Esav took bad wives. Yitzchak sees that Esav is going down the wrong path. He realizes that Yaakov is going to be the chosen one. He's not choosing that. He just sees that through the choices that they each made throughout their lives, 40 years of living. And he realizes eventually Yaakov will be the one. I'm not saying God's going to pick him. I could tell. And that led to a problem. He was worried. He was worried actually for both. Says the Malbim, he was worried that Esav would go down the wrong path. Once one son is chosen, Esav would just get lost like the other nations of the world. He's also worried about Yaakov. Who's going to provide for him? If Yaakov's going to now have to start worrying, fighting, planting, harvesting, so how is he going to be able to live his mission of spirituality? Once you're engaging in the physical, it's going to take a price, a toll on the spiritual. So both end up losing. Yitzchak is worried. So what does Yitzchak do over here? Yitzchak calls over Esav and he says, let me bless you with the physical. Let me make you now the partnership that was always intended to be of a Yisachar and a Zevulun. And he's hoping that he could bless Esav to become the provider, and then Yaakov will be able to benefit him and his brother Esav. The partnership that was always meant to be. And actually, that's why he blesses Esav, or at least who he thinks is Esav. He blesses him with materialism. Because you're going to be the one to be strong. You're going to need to be the one to be wealthy. Because you got to take care of yourself and your brother. But as far as the blessings of Abraham, the blessings of godliness, of spirituality, Yitzchak never gives that. He doesn't address it over here, at least. That God will pick. This is what goes going on in the head of Yitzchak Avinu. So just pause for a minute over here, realize what's going on. Yitzchak's no dummy, chas v'shalom. It's very calculated. Yitzchak knows exactly what's up. He knows that there's a partnership, and he realizes eventually what's going to happen. Yaakov will be chosen. So if Yaakov's going to be one, I better hope and pray that Esav is the other. So he's giving him the blessings of the other, trying to help his son out. Well, what was Rivkah thinking then? What's wrong with that? Rivkah, she knew Esav's true nature. And unfortunately, she realized that he would not be a leaf protecting the fruit, if we could go back to that analogy. He would be more of an insect devouring the fruit. If he was blessed with the material, it would end up ruining, he would ruin his brother Yaakov, and he would end up ruining himself. And so she suggests something very novel over here. Give them both to Yaakov. Both to Yaakov, how could that be? That's going against the rules. Imen kemach and Torah. You need both. You need a Yisachar, you need a Zevulun, you need a partnership. You need a person who's going to study and a person who's going to be in the field. And look at their nature, by the way. Yaakov was an Ishtam, Yoshev Ohalim. Yaakov was that personality who can study, who can live a life of spirituality. He was Tam. He was very naive, simple, goody two-shoes, academics, studious, bookworm. Sat in the tent. Esav, Ish Sadeh. Esav's field, extrovert. Maybe we could even say ADHD. He's got the energy. He's going to be out there in the world. And it was perfect partnership. Esav out there, Yaakov in here. It was in their nature. But unfortunately, Esav made wrong choice after wrong choice, and Rivkah saw the truth. And maybe why she saw the truth more than her husband Yitzchak is because she grew up with guys just like Esav. Don't forget where Rivkah comes from. She comes from Lavan, from Betuel. She sees it. She could identify it. And she says it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to help if we give 1 and 1. Esav will end up squandering it and destroying it. And destroying himself and destroying his brother. So eventually she says, we got to give it to both. We got to give it both to Yaakov. And she understood that it's possible for a person to stay balanced, to succeed, and not get lost in the kemah, in the materialism. It's very possible to have the using exactly whatever is needed in this world to help one reach the levels of serving of God. It's hard, but it's very possible. And she was hoping, let's give the blessings to Yaakov, the physical also. And he will use them. And he will climb. And he will reach. And he will be able to do what's needed. And what ends up happening is that if he succeeds, then he will be able to also help his brother, Esav, and pull him up. Because if Esav is powerless, and Esav doesn't have any of the finances, then Esav will be subservient to Yaakov. And if he's subservient to Yaakov, then Yaakov can help his brother Esav as well. And so even Rivkah was acting out of love for both. Even Rivkah was doing it for her son Yaakov's sake and for her son Esav's sake. We have to realize Rivkah is doing it for both people. And this is exactly what she was thinking in her head. And it's an interesting thing, by the way, when you see how Yaakov's life ends up playing out. Till now we read of a Yaakov Avinu who is a very shy, studious, in the tent type of person. But from this point on, Yaakov takes on a very different nature. After today, after he gets the blessings, Yaakov now, we see him very different type of man. He is not the only shy, introverted kid that we knew him. Yaakov now, all of a sudden, take a look. He's going out there and he's working the field for Lavan. For 20 years he's working, making a lot of money. He's doing things with rods to manipulate that the sheep should be born with spots, with freckles, with this, with that. Yaakov's fighting Esav later on when he comes back. Yaakov is fighting nations, protecting his sons Shimon, Levi. Yaakov is out there in the world all of a sudden. And Yaakov is the Behir Sheba'avot. Yaakov is the balance. Yaakov is something very rare. He's the 2-in-1 that we don't really find anymore today. Today, we live in a world where you have rabbis and you have businessmen. And Baruch Hashem, at least in some communities, there's a very beautiful relationship between the two. But it's not easy to find the 2-in-1. You don't find anymore today the rabbi businessman. Today you have a guy who is the businessman and he says, Rabbi, you're the one that's going to finish Shas. And you have the rabbi who's doesn't do anything in business, because how are you going to do both? And so long as there's mutual respect, you can have the Yisachar Zevulun partnership. In the land of Israel, it's ideal to have both. And mutual respect by both sides. Where you have the person who's going to learn, and you need the people out there in the fighting and the working. And it's a shame that today each one doesn't respect the other sometimes. Because it's not how it's supposed to be. A partnership, we're both equal, we both need each other. So to have a Yaakov personality, to have a Yaakov where both are found in the same person is not an easy thing. Yaakov achieves what's called in Kabbalah tiferet, balance. Yaakov reaches perfection, where he has both inside of him. And he masters both. Not an easy thing to achieve, by the way. Not an easy thing. It's easier to be one or the other. Of course, as we get closer to Mashiach, we start seeing more of a blend. When Mashiach comes, and this was again what Rivkah was calculating, it says in the end of time, Maleah haaretz de'ah et Hashem. The land will be full of knowledge of Hashem. We're seeing today that there's a beautiful resurgence of Torah being studied, mitzvot being kept, Baal Tshuva movement. We're seeing slowly, we're moving back to a Yaakov type of life, where we're able to have a little bit of both, where it's not extreme. One's Yaakov and one's a Levi and one's a rest of the nation, or one's a Yisachar and one is a Zevulun. Today, we're finding almost, interestingly enough, that it's kind of balancing out. Today the Yisachar is doing a lot of Zevulun, and today the Zevulun is doing a lot of Yisachar. And the end of time, you should know, the Gemara says, Levi will have a portion in the land. Gemara Baba Batra, page 122. Because the truly righteous person, spiritual and physical, can dwell side by side, provided that we use our wealth, our power, for spiritual advancement. So the day will come where Levi will inherit. The day when Mashiach comes, Be'ezrat Hashem, where we will be able to have both. And who knows, maybe we are seeing that slowly happening, where there is, again, a blurring of the lines in a good way. But in the meantime, this is how the Malbim understands this amazing episode of Yaakov and Esav. Yitzchak had his calculations. Rivkah had her calculations. Everyone was only trying to do what was best for both of their children. They both knew what was going on. Sometimes one parent sees something that another parent doesn't. But they both had tremendous love for both of their children. They were just trying to help both of them. And for us, we hope that we always are able to remain respectful for the Yisachar and for the Zevulun, understanding that both are needed for Am Yisrael to succeed. Imen kemach in Torah, imen Torah in kemach. Without flour, there's no Torah. Without Torah, there's no flour. And we should be zochet to have peace in Am Yisrael, peace in Israel, peace amongst ourselves, and to achieve a beautiful balance, a harmony. And inshallah to be zochet to the Beit HaMikdash, b'mira b'yameinu amen. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.